The most important thing is that you have a vision, that you have a goal. Because without that vision and without that goal, again, you're drifting around and you're never gonna end up anywhere. People don't become successful just by accident.
You're gonna get your ass kicked, we're gonna get the shit kicked out of us. You gotta get up, you gotta have faith that the one thing you wanted to happen oftentimes is the best thing that never happened. So have faith, just keep that in mind, keep plugging away.
Never accept the limitations of someone else. Somebody told you that it's impossible. Don't even try. Give up before you even fucking try it for yourself. Never accept the goddamn limitation that someone else has placed upon you.
And now, FitnessInformant.com presents the Iron Union Podcast. Let's go.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome inside the Iron Union Podcast. I am your host, Fitness Informant, founder and CEO, FitButters, founder and CEO, Ryan Buckeye. We're back. I know there was a gap there where we had not a lot happening on the airways. Brandan Fokken, nice enough to come on the Iron Union Podcast. If you don't recognize the name, that's okay, because we'll take you through Brandan's story. But Brandan has accomplished a ton within the fitness space, has a really, really nice following on social media platforms, is the poster child for many fitness campaigns, even today, past his, what he might say his prime is within the fitness world. But Brandan and I connected through actually our respective food companies. So he owns Fokken Nuts, now also Easton Nuts. I obviously own FitButters. Brandan and I have been talking about an upcoming Walmart pitch that he has for Fokken Nuts. And, obviously I am in the mindset like we all should be able to win. There's no reason that he can't win. There's no reason that I can't win. There's no reason that him and I can't help each other grow our respective brands. And that conversation, I think, solidified our friendship to the point where we speak weekly. We have conversations about business, about life, etc. And that's why I really wanted to get Brandan on the podcast, because he has such a unique perspective. He came in to the fitness world when athletes were a massive, major part of companies' marketing spend. Companies would throw money at these athletes, anywhere from like $1,000 to $4,000 a month, free product, and all they had to do was plug and go to events and represent the brand. Now, Brandan represented brands like Beast, represented brands like Dymatize, represented brands like Twin Labs, worked with bodybuilding.com. He's on the cover of Muscle and Fitness. He's on the cover of Train Magazine. I mean, the guy is everywhere. And so I thought, hey, it's 2021. We don't really spend money on athlete sponsorships anymore. I mean, there are some companies that do. They overpay for them, but they do it. So having him come on and bring his unique perspective of once upon a time as a paid sponsored athlete, now to a CEO and a decision maker at a company like Fokken Nuts. Brandan's accomplished a ton in the space. He's a father. He's a genuine human being. He's a Midwest boy like myself. We hit it off well. If you guys like what you hear on the podcast, hit that, leave us a review on these platforms, whether it's iTunes or Spotify, or if you're watching over at YouTube, hit us a comment up there. Helps out the podcast, helps out the algorithm. More people can discover the Iron Union Podcast. I promise, guys, I'm going to do a much better job of getting these out, because every time I do one, I have so much fun getting to know the person that's sitting across the screen from me. Or, sometimes I do them in person, and I enjoy that. And I don't enjoy it because I'm trying to figure out how to properly do a dumbbell curl or a barbell bench press. I do it because I want to hear their stories. I want to understand who they are as individuals. And in the process of asking these questions, not only do I learn more about them, but we give you guys a unique perspective into the lives of these influencers, of these athletes, of these personalities that you may have not gotten before. This is Brandan Fokken, CEO of Fokken Nuts, Easton Nuts. He is a fitness model. He's a fitness influencer. He is, you could almost say, a fitness icon. Ladies and gentlemen, Brandan Fokken.
Give me a second, I'm trying to select the appropriate weapon. Watch who you stepping, them snakes all around, you know they connected. So count your days, hold up, let me count the ways you gon' pay. When I spot you, I'm coming straight through to your face, no foreplay. Coming alive. Heat of the night. Now is the time. Don't try to hide.
Back inside the Iron Union podcast, Brandan Fokken here. Dude, I wanted to have you on for a while. And like, we had met each other once upon a time back in a little gym called Vault Fitness, Eden Prairie, Minnesota. You had no idea who the fuck I was. I knew who you were through a friend. How would you describe you, like, to the listening audience?
How would I describe me at what stage of life?
Like your fitness, personality, career. Like, what are you? What is Brandan Fokken? Obviously, you're a CEO. You're a father. Like, but if you're talking to a fitness-centric audience, who and what are you?
You know, in the realm of fitness, I think I did things very differently than most people. I didn't start competing until I was 30. You know, before that, it was all about being big and strong, man. I just wanted to lift weights, I wanted to be big. Started competing at 30, and I got in before social media was big. And, you know, man, from there, a lot of opportunities started to hit me. I started to, you know, win shows. I started in bodybuilding, went to physique. From there, I won the bodybuilding.com spokesmodel contest. I won the muscle and fitness male model contest 3 times. Then I started to network. I started to, you know, get sponsorships. At one point, I had like 22 different sponsors. You know, I was the advertised Bees, the face of Twin Lab. I was with bodybuilding.com. You know, so I was traveling. I was doing photo shoots. I was shooting magazine covers. Became a physique pro. Became an IFBB pro judge. You know, I've been on over 30 covers nationally, internationally. I've been in over 400 magazines. I'm a coach. You know, I've got a lot of pros, celebrities, actors.
You're a fitness chameleon, dude. You do.
Yeah, I write, I speak. The thing about it was, man, is I was never going to be the best at anything.
Yeah.
You know, I'm from South Dakota. I'm a kind of a quiet guy, but I'm good at a lot of things. And that's where I tried to give value to people, because I wasn't going to be a Jay Cutler or a Michael Hearn or, you know, somebody like that, you know, was either the best at something or was crazy marketable or whatever.
Yeah.
So I took everything and combined it, and it's kind of like, here, let me fill in where you need me.
Dude, you said 2 things I want to, like, piggyback off. One, you talked about the magazine covers and the magazine spreads. Be real with me. Ego. Did it ever get really big?
No, it's something that I actually live by. You know, the first one that came out, I had one come out, then I had a second one come out. And when all of this first started happening, a lot of people that were friends of mine started to talk shit about me.
Really?
Know? Yeah, and, you know,
well, it's a space.
You know, it was one of those things where social media wasn't a thing. And, you know, I would put, you know, things that I accomplished out there, but I would always give thanks, you know, to everybody before I'd ever accept an accomplishment. I had rules that I kind of tried to hold by. And I always try to help other people. And that bothered me for a while. But I just told myself, I'm like, if you're doing good, if you're trying to help people, you know how much you give back, you work with charities and you mentor people and you do all these things, that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Everybody wants to be liked. But, you know, at first it was hard, because as I started to accomplish things, a lot of it took a lot of work, but it was never my main focus, because I had a corporate job. I had other things doing. So for me, you know, in some regard, I don't know if you'd say it wasn't fair, because, you know, I feel like with my work ethic, I didn't have to work so hard to make it happen. I was just good at networking to make things happen.
Right.
But like a lot of other people, I mean, you could think of how many people on Instagram or wherever that are geniuses that have 2,000 followers. Mm-hmm. And you're like, not fair, man. Why does so-and-so have 1 million and this person, you know, deserves to have a voice?
Yeah.
And I guess I appreciated other athletes and people so much that a lot of times I didn't feel like I belonged there.
Sure.
You know? And as things started to happen, you know, it was cool, but I made sure I was mindful to kind of keep things tempered. I didn't like, oh my God, well, guess what? Blah, blah, blah. And I've done this and this and this. And, you know, it sounds good on a resume, but the other aspect of that is, man, is I'm a perfectionist, and nothing's ever good enough, unfortunately. So every cover I had, well, I was only as good as that right then, right? Mm-hmm. On to the next thing. I call it Uncle Rico syndrome.
Sure.
How many people do you know that are 35, 40 years old? They're still talking about high school football or something they accomplished, right?
Right.
Like Napoleon Dynamite. I never wanted to be that. I wanted to accomplish something and then move forward from it. And I think with that mindset of trying to be humble, because, you know, people had turned against me, being mindful of that, and then also not wanting to be stagnant, always wanting more, continued to allow me to grow without, you know, ever thinking I was better than anybody. You know, and preaching that too. We're not better than anybody else.
Right. And you mentioned, like, people we thought were friends turned their back and you started talking shit. I mean, this was probably right around the time when you started getting sort of big in that realm, when social media started getting bigger too, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, now social media is this whole new thing. And you, because of the position that you put yourself in through your work ethic, through networking, you put yourself in position to have the haters come to you and pour on negative comments, feedback, whatever it is. Does it bother you today to get negative comments on those social platforms about something about you?
You know, it's believe it or not, it's few and far between. I think people that have followed me for so long, you know, I've got an organic following. I've never tried to grow a following. I remember when I was coming out, and Bradley Martin, for instance, you know, was at the time, and he was telling me about, you know, how we're going to grow and how we're going to do this. And obviously he is what he is now. I never followed that path because I didn't need it. I did it because I enjoyed it. You know, I had a great, you know, position and job and everything. So for me, it was very different than a person like him that went out to intentionally grow that. You know, have I gotten negative stuff? Of course. You know, oh, you're a steroid user, or you do this.
You are? No, come on. I can't see that at all. Me, yes. But I mean,
but at the end of the day, I think because I've stuck, I mean, if you look back over years, over anything that I've posted, you're not going to see negativity. You're not going to see, you know, putting myself out there like I'm better than anybody.
Right.
You're going to see somebody trying to help people, putting positive stuff out there, funny stuff. I mean, I was a fitness person posting 95% memes, you know, because that's what I enjoyed. And so the haters per se, there's always going to be haters, or, you know, they misjudge you or are misguided by who they think you are until they get to know you. And that's just a part of life. Not everybody's going to like you.
yeah.
Okay with that, because I'm okay with me. If I can accept all the good and all the bad of who I am, nobody else can use that against me, including myself. And at my age, I'm going to be 42 this year. You know, I started late in this stuff. So, you know, I know what matters. I pulled away slowly from fitness a few years ago when, you know, my son came and all that. And, you know, I've got different priorities now than I did then. Like, and it's still crazy. I made a post yesterday that the relevance of being in fitness, because it's changed so much. I
saw it. It was a great post, by the way. I mean, you should save that, pin it to the top. It was a great post.
Because everything about it, everything from how brands are run to who has brands now to how it's marketed and all that has all changed. So, you know, people are like, oh, you're in magazines, because I'm on the cover of Train magazine with my son right now, and I'm on another cover coming up, right? And to be able to still have those things happen is cool, but the magic per se, other than my son is a part of it, and I get to share that with him, there's no cloud in it. There's no like, oh my God, I did this, and I'm on this cover. It doesn't affect me like that, because I also understand that print is dead, you know, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know, for the most part, you know, it doesn't have a direct reflection on the growth of brands anymore. It's just not. I understand that. It's other people see it and like, oh my God, I saw you on a cover and blah blah blah. Like, it really doesn't have any relevance.
It's cool for Easton, I bet. I mean, as he grows older, he'll be like, hey man, I made a cover of a magazine. That's pretty cool.
And that's the coolest thing, is sharing it with him. He's 4, so he doesn't really get it.
Right.
But he get it. You know, he'll ask like, oh, are you in that magazine?
Yep.
You know, stuff. So because he grew up with it, he doesn't really understand how many people that can hit. You know, and the hundreds of thousands could read that or see that or whatever. But for me, after so many of those or other fitness accomplishments, like, there's only one accomplishment that I never accomplished that I'm at peace with, but it's the one thing that I never checked off, and that was taking a shot at competing at the Olympia. Beyond that, I mean, everything else I've done in fitness, I feel like it's all a bonus because I never planned any of it. And I'm a pro athlete. I never planned to be the face of a major brand. I never planned to do any of those things. It wasn't on my bucket list because I didn't think it was possible. And in the 90s and 2000s, it wouldn't have been possible. I would have never had that opportunity if it wasn't for the shift in, you know, going to physique and not just the bodybuilders and then social media and all that. I would have never had those opportunities.
That's the other part. Tell me about that shift, because most people are probably going to go from physique to bodybuilding. I mean, I mean, maybe there's more, but going from bodybuilding to physique, what was it? Was it a placement? Was it advice? What was it?
So first of all, I was embarrassed.
Okay.
Because the first year I competed, I was a light heavyweight bodybuilder. And then I went to heavyweight the next year, and I won at that show. And my next show was like 3 weeks out, and I tore a muscle in my quad. Like, my leg was all swollen, and I'm like, you know, Jesus, like, I can't even flex my leg.
Yeah.
And the new physique class was coming out in Minnesota, and I was like, you know, like, why not try it, you know? So I put myself in that show, but I remember joking the whole time because I thought I was so hardcore of a bodybuilder that I thought I'd be made fun of for it. And then I did it, and I actually enjoyed it. Like, I'm like, that was a lot of fun, you know?
Right.
And then they're following like the whole first beginning of physique, and we're all following each other online. Like, the first person to go pro and like what that was. And, you know, I kind of fell into it. And then from there, opportunities started to happen that if I was in bodybuilding, you know, likely wouldn't have happened. The marketability for me wasn't there. And I'm going to be at my height and build. I would have had to be, you know, 290, 300 pound bodybuilder. And that just was never going to happen. I don't have the genetics for that.
Right.
I don't care what kind of sauce you're on. That's just not,
Yeah.
and so I made that transition, and you know, it's something that did well for me and allowed me to grow as a person and an athlete, and you know, a fitness. I don't like to say the word influencer, but it gave me a platform to that I never thought I could do.
You a fan of bodybuilding still today?
I'm a fan of physiques. It's kind of like, you know, people say, well, are you a fan of basketball? I'm a fan of Michael Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a different sport to me today than what it was.
Right.
Like, I was obsessed with baseball growing up and stuff. Bodybuilding now, it's one of those things that even though I'm still involved in it, you know, as a judge and as a coach and stuff like that, I kind of stay away from shows or the limelight aspect of it, or, you know, even doing that event we just did, it felt weird showing up there after, you know, a year and a half of not seeing people like yourself. Yeah. So I think I follow some personalities more so than a lot of the shows. You know, right now, I mean, the physiques that are just stand out for me are the classic guys, just absolutely beautiful physiques. Obviously, looking at just regular physique, I mean, you look at like Brandon Hendrickson, and I mean, he's just, I can't compete against that. No. You know, just it's gone so far. You know, and a lot of the rest of it, you know, I just kind of will see, you know, updates and stuff.
Right.
But not as much as that. I mean, before I could have told you who placed where, who did what, and now I just kind of watch from the distance. And one thing now, I guess, is being friends with a lot of those people, like myself or Mark Lobliner, or you know, guys that just lift, you know, for their own personal gain and goals. You know what I mean? I think that's very popular now, and I think you also see a shift where all these guys went from competitors to coaches. Now everybody's an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. How to make money, right? I think that's where a lot of fitness people kind of went. They went from coaching to entrepreneurs to wanting to help you get rich or whatever. Yeah. Which is great, do that. That's fine. But I find myself being more of a fan of the people that took bodybuilding and made something with it. Like some of my favorite people are like Phil Heath. Jay Cutler by far is one of the most interesting dudes out there. Right. I've gotten to know more people just watching them grind and their consistency day in and day out, and their willingness to help somebody like me or you. Yeah. You know what I mean? Even meeting you, like, you don't know what to expect because, you know, if you're in the same genre of anything, whether it be bodybuilding or peanut butter or whatever, you're like, well, how's this guy going to receive me? And, you know, meeting you and your family, you guys were some of the most welcoming people that, you know, I met at this last event. And even before. That's, I think, what I like more is seeing people out there creating and doing things and uplifting people and whatnot, and taking those platforms and doing really good with it, and also other people. Yeah, you're I'm going to call you lucky, and I'm going to call myself lucky, because there's so many people who want to make fitness their income source or make a living in this space. It's few and far between. There's not a lot of Brandan Fokkens out there. There's not a lot of Jay Cutlers. There's not a lot of Ryan Buckeyes that can do it. So, I mean, I'm sure you get hit up with DMs a lot. Like, hey, you know, I'm passionate about fitness. I want this to be my career. What advice are you giving people reaching out to someone like you who has been successful, who's made a dime or two in this business? I'm getting that a lot right now. Muscle and Fitness is using my image for their model content. Yeah. Getting it sent to me. And I know, and that's the other thing when you talk about trolls, like, I know there's people on there, you know, trashing me that don't even know me. Yep. I don't even care. Right. Guys are hitting me up and they're asking me, you know, how do you do this and how do you do that? And consistency over time, it's realizing that your end goal is here and you may end up over here. But what people do is they negate all that success all the way to get to here because they didn't get here. Right. So failed. Well, you didn't fail. You learned and you grew and you developed and you're over here. Now you can do so much more, even though you didn't hit this. So that's the one thing. The other thing is branch out into different things. You know, don't try to fit a square spoke into a round wheel. It's just not going to work. You know, you find something that you're passionate about that you can grow in that's sustainable and attainable. I thought, believe it or not, when I got into peanut butter, that I couldn't make it work. I was just a big peanut butter fan, and you know, I'd represented other companies out there, and people kept saying, "Do yours," and I ended up talk with Sean own bakery barn, and we were talking, and he literally goes, "What would you do if you could do anything?" I said, "As a passion project, I'd do peanut butter." And I said, "But I just feel like it's saturated." And he laughed. He goes, "Well, what do you think the bar business is like?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "If you're passionate and love what you do and put on a great product that reflects yourself and your love for what you do," he said, "you're going to make it." Mm-hmm. And I literally took that from a guy who, had made hundreds of millions of dollars worth of, product. And I ran with that. So literally 3 months later, my New Year's resolution was, okay, I'm going to take that and I'm going to start a peanut butter company without any clue what I was doing.
Right.
Even watching you when you got started, watching you with your blenders and all this stuff.
Yeah.
How you started, I know what that process was like.
Right.
You start off and you're like, oh my God. And then when you launch, then there's a whole host of other things. You're like, oh my God, like what the hell? Like,
right.
What do I do now? How do I do this? How do I do that?
Yeah.
So with these people that are asking questions, it's like, man, do your research, take your time, find something you're passionate about, find something that you love. Because if you're doing something that you hate, like if you were like, Brandon, I want you to go start an accounting business. Well, guess what? I hate accounting.
I hate it too. Yeah.
And it could be $1 million business, and I would be pissed off every day, and I wouldn't want to go. I'd be like, this sucks. Mm-hmm. And with the peanut butter, it doesn't feel like work. Training people online, it doesn't feel like work. Right. Training people in person, doing, I'm a wellness director. It doesn't feel like work. So I'm able to take all those things and do them collectively, throughout the day. And that's the last thing is find multiple streams. Like I would say, if you're just starting something out, have a day job, pay the bills, mm-hmm. on the side, keep the day job, even when this is making money. Then maybe add an income stream, to the day job and the other thing. And then once you feel like it's good enough, then you can go. But don't think, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to make all this money or whatever. Like I think we talked about how much we take out of the business.
Yeah.
You can't do that. If you do that and you're taking money collectively out of the business every day or every week, you're not going to make it.
Right.
You have to put it in. And then if you really want to grow, we discussed the same thing. Slotting fees and all these things people don't even imagine, brokerage fees, all this that you pay to get into a facility or be considered, mm-hmm. Before you know it, you're hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars into a product.
Right.
And make it into Walmart, you know? That's why you see some people that strictly stay online because they don't have those risks. Mm-hmm. I know eventually you're going to take those bigger leaps. As I saw you, congrats, by the way, you had the vitamin shop order going on. And that's what's going to differentiate, I think, your brand from some others that look good and do well. But I don't think you're going to see that same growth pattern, moving forward as opposed to what you're going to do. Right.
No, I think it's cool. I mean, and we're going to talk peanut butter. Trust me, we are going to talk peanut butter in a little bit. But I love. So when you started bodybuilding, you came in around the time that athlete sponsorships were hot. I mean, they were I'm not going to say everybody was handing out checks to athletes, but I mean, athletes were making good money. I know Iovate was paying Jay Cutler a shit ton of money. I'm sure you made a pretty penny. 2021, athlete sponsorships are, I would almost say dead. Not dead, but they're not as relevant as they once were. They're not taking you and sending you to Kuwait and all these different foreign countries for meet and greets. It just doesn't happen anymore. So you got in during a really good time. So your work ethic paid off. You caught the eye. You said you had 20 plus sponsors at once.
Yeah.
I mean,
so what bodybuilding.com is, I use bodybuilding.com's platform.
Yep.
I would always have bodybuilding.com. My first big one was Beast, and then I would have everything underneath it. Like I would have FitMark bags, Smart Shake. I would have clothing. I would have, Nuts and More was my first peanut butter.
Yep.
And I would just have all these little companies, a watch company, socks, coolers.
You didn't pay for shit.
I sponsors for freaking everything, man. Right. And what I did is I just took all of those other companies' credibility, and I'm like, well, if they're working with me, obviously, And I did that for years. I would, switch off with people. Icon Meals is one I'm still with. I've been with 7 years. They've taken care of me. Amazing company. And I did that, for a long time. And when you talk about how things have changed, I think when you look at it, like I think Redcon, for instance, is one out there that really probably takes care of its athletes well.
Sure.
But to that degree, I think you maybe have 3 or 4 companies other than that maybe have some high profile people. Back when I was, really into it, we had, we would have a team of athletes, we would have 10 to 20, on regular teams. And then some teams like Quest Bar had hundreds.
Yeah.
But money wise, man, I mean, there was so many different ways, and you get good with contracts on how to incentivize things. You know, if I write an article or if I'm on a cover of a magazine, if I win my pro card, like you can plug that all into a contract. So years, you know, I think Beast always took care of me. Dymatize, I had such an incentivized contract that, you know, I think my best month there, I made like $9,000 in 1 month.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Just
6
regular
figures.
stuff,
Yeah.
you know. My biggest monthly contract without anything added to it was Twin Lab. And it was a 2-year contract where I was getting $4,000 a month, plus 500 in supplements, plus 300 in giveaways, plus clothing, plus travel, plus, you know, appearance fees.
Right.
You know, and I'm like, you kind of look at it, you're like, what the hell am I doing here? Like, how did this happen?
Right.
You know, so it was good, but is that still attainable? I would say 99% no.
Right.
But there's still opportunities out there. Yeah, if you're the right person with the right following and can produce sales and everything that they need.
That's the thing, right? Like, I think I'm not going to say all brands are smart, but I think the advent of CPC and Facebook marketing and all these things where it's very trackable, and you can say, okay, I can run an ad for X and my return is this. Okay, Brandon, I'm going to give you X amount of dollars. If you're not returning that investment, if I'm not getting money back from it, it's an easy cut. So as you progress, I'm sure like these companies made a decision like, hey, we're going to move away from athlete sponsorships, maybe move more heavily digital. Did that fuck with you at all mentally? I mean, because it's not your fault per se. Maybe they found a different channel to invest those dollars.
You know, so what happened with me? I mean, again, I'm going to be 42. I purposely started to pull away. Beast, I left Beast for Dymatize. I left Dymatize for Twin Lab. Twin Lab, essentially the brand I was under, died.
Yeah.
So I placed in that. Then I went back to Beast as kind of a, you know, resurgence with them. I was going to put in one more year with them. I left them in November. You know, they were still giving me $1,500 a month, and 500, you know, for doing minimum. But they also, I built a team for them. Like I did things that I was good at.
Right.
So I chose again to leave in November because I was done with it. It was time to step away from that. And the same thing, like I landed that train cover and I thought that was it. Like I wasn't going to try to platform myself for more. I mean, right now, there's like 5 magazines maybe you can even get on now. And then I got contacted by one more, and I turned it down at first because I wanted my last one to be with my son. And then they said, well, he can do it too. So again, with that, I'm not going to platform for that stuff anymore. The majority of that stuff, I just want to be an ambassador to the sport now. You know, the sport, the fitness world, help people continue to go to events, you know, see people interact with, you know, people like yourself or Jay or whatever. Like that's uplifting for me. Like that fills me up. And you know, it's nothing against it. It's just changed so much. It's kind of like, you know, looking at an old Nintendo and a PlayStation, you know, side by side. You know, the person that grew up on a Nintendo isn't necessarily gonna want to play the PlayStation because it's just so different.
Yeah.
I almost compare it to that. Like I kind of grew up in the Nintendo era, so to speak, social media and supplement and everything, and now it's on to all these tractables and marketables and all this and this and this. And
which as a business owner now is extremely important to you, right? So like it comes full circle.
But I like simplicity as an athlete, man. I wanted to do my job and show up in shape when I was supposed to for photo shoots or videos and stuff. And there's aspects of that I miss. Like I miss, you know, going to bodybuilding.com and filming, you know, stuff like that. The next thing I would say I would like to do is to get on TV, whether it's on a show. I think I shared with you I was on a show last year briefly, and then I got hurt. So it'd be nice to do something like that. Or I've got clients that are actors and stuff like that. I'd love to be an extra in a movie. Somebody asked me, they're like, well, what movie would you take over if you could? I'm like, I don't want that. I don't want that level of fame. I'm not an actor. I just want the guy standing next to the guy.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
Holding and just stand there. Like, but I love film, so that's something that, you know, potentially maybe I'll be able to do someday. But other aspirations, man, are just, you know, to grow the brands that I have, and whether that be in training or you know, the wellness directing, getting into the gym realm of things, building gyms. You know, I'm just never going to try to pigeonhole myself into one thing. I'm always going to try to kind of have cups everywhere and see how much I can disperse without, you know, losing them all.
Let's talk about one last on the subject of athlete sponsorships. Now that you're on the other side and you're a business owner with Fokken Nuts, do you see value on your brand an athlete? And this is good because you were in that side. Now you're on the other side. Do you see value on your brand in athlete sponsorships?
So I don't sponsor anybody purposely.
Yeah.
But what I do, I send out product. But the thing is, I don't ask for it.
Mm-hmm.
These are just relationships I have, you have. And I share my product. I love to do that. And I'll be in the store and, you know, I could see a little boy that's disabled or something and start chatting with their mom and be like, you know what, I'd love to send you guys some product.
Yeah.
I know this is weird. However, here's my card, you know, hit me up. You know, I send stuff to a lot of athletes. We're an Olympic sponsor. But I never go into it with the condition that they have to post or share. And I never think it's going to turn into anything because, I mean, I could name 15 names of people you would know that don't produce a single sale if they post anything.
Mm-hmm.
Then I could tell you the biggest group or demographic of people are lifestyle people.
Yeah.
If you produce sales, I believe, and I hate to say this, a lot of the bodybuilding community has been pitching products for so long that nobody believes it or cares.
Right.
You know, it may be visible to them, but they're not going to buy it because you try to sell me stuff for 10 years. I'm not going to do it. The lifestyle, stay-at-home mom or somebody that was on, you know, Big Brother or whatever, and they've got 3 kids, they post something. And I don't know what your demographic is for like your product.
Probably similar to yours.
We're damn near like 80% female that buy the product, you know?
Yep.
So they see that. Like I've got one girl that made one story post and held a jar and said, I like this. Mm-hmm. 16 times.
Yeah.
Because of her reach.
That's crazy.
I've never, like that's true. Like you couldn't give me power like that because I'd abuse it.
What Kardashian was that, Fokken?
Actually, it's Chelsea from Teen Mom, believe it or not.
Very cool.
And the power she has because she's herself. She really thinks that she likes. We ended up doing some posts and stuff with her, you know, and she's just been an amazing advocate to our brand. But I've never seen anybody come close to replicating that. Nobody in fitness, no actor, no athlete, nobody to the power that she had. And then it would trickle down again. It's always going to be a female that I've seen produce, and it's always organic.
Yeah.
And you know, it's amazing to me to see the absolute reach and power that some influencers have. And you wouldn't even think, like, they could have 200,000 followers and they make one post and it creates $10,000 in sales.
Yep.
It's absolutely amazing. So is it worth it for me to hire, you know, athletes or anybody like that? No, it's not. Is it worth it for me to share my product with others and send out freebies and stuff? Yes.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that. But we'll maybe have, I hate to say, you know, an athlete team. I'll say an ambassador squad. Yep. But I kind of already have that without putting them on the website or anything like this. People really promote us well, whether they have a small following or big following. And, you know, I make sure that I send them stuff out. So, but I think you're going to see that overall with fitness, it's going to continue to deteriorate. I could name one specific athlete that I've seen on 5 different teams in the last 2 years that they get cut with each team because even though they have a big following, they produce no sales.
Exactly.
They get these great contracts to start, and you know, I think more and more brands see that and they don't see the value. I can spend that same money on Facebook marketing and you know get a 3.5 to 4 ROI. Why am I giving you money?
Exactly.
There's no, you know, I'll $1,000 video that I can run for the next 6 months, 8 months. That's going to pay me as opposed to me paying you.
Yeah.
Strength isn't a slogan.
You want to win this year? Yes, no! What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Game time!
It's not an image you find on billboards or the big screen. It's never been about any of that. It's all around you, in everyday moments, just waiting to be unleashed. Strength is the knowledge that inside you lies anything you've ever wanted to be. The confidence that your failures never define you, and the passion and purpose to drive beyond any limits placed upon you. When you call upon it, strength embraces you, challenges you, pulls you back up, no matter how many times you fall. It compels you to draw on courage, resilience, intensity, and hope, and expects your very best to help others find theirs. True strength demands you build more than muscle, not in pursuit of a personal best, but a better tomorrow for everyone.
Adding my product is going to help you get to where you want to be. 5%ers is 5% of the people in the world that are willing to do whatever it takes to reach their goals. We're talking about business, success, education, willing to do whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes.
For the last 2 decades, we have been the best kept secret of the supplement industry. We've kept our heads down and worked. We pioneered full label transparency and full therapeutic doses because we believe that truly hard work requires truly effective tools. 2 decades is a long time to commit to one pursuit, but when you act with purpose and become centered in yourself, eventually you realize that you were born and bred for this. The things you once thought impossible, you now do every day. We don't like the easy way, it just doesn't feel right. We'll take the long, hard road over a shortcut any day. It takes longer, sure, but in the end, you know you earned it. And with the right team behind you, pushing yourself further than you've ever been would be just another afternoon doing what you love most.
If you could use some help getting fired up and ready to crush your workouts, Pulse is for you. It is a 100% natural pre-workout supplement that gives you a surge of smooth energy and focus, bigger and better pumps, and more strength, endurance, and power. Pulse is also naturally sweetened and flavored and contains no artificial food dyes, fillers, or other unnecessary junk. So order now and get ready to feel focused, powerful, and tireless in your workouts.
Let's the last thing we're talking about in terms of brands that you represent is a brand that spent probably more money than anybody that I've seen. But yeah, Twin Labs and Real, when they came out with that campaign, what I'll give them credit for is they essentially created the EAA market. I mean, with all their marketing. Before that, it was branch chains, 2-on-1, which is, I'm a firm believer that branch chains have a place as long as you have protein within your system.
Yeah.
Real came along, EAAs became popular, but they gave you like 3 grams of it. So like they got a lot of shit within the space, this channel included. You made bank on it, which is great. But like when they came to you and said, "Hey, Brandon, we got this new product, we're going to put a ton of money behind it." You have to have a business for yourself, obviously, take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Do you know the story behind the ending of that? Because the last thing I remember is we had a podcast, which we had a formulator from Core Nutritionals on, and then we had Ian from Twin Labs or Real at that point. And I mean, people can go back and watch it, but Ian got demolished in this debate. It was really bad for the brand. And then, at some point they kind of just went away. But like, did they keep you in the loop in terms of like, shit, this isn't working? Or was it kind of just like, cut, we're done, Brandon, sorry?
So what happened was when I got brought on, there was huge investors and a ton of money because the science that they had to it was, behind it was sound science. And, I read through, I read and I'm like, God, this sounds good, right? I didn't know anything about dosing at that point. I didn't even see a real product because right before that. However, there was supposed to be 3, 4, 5, 6 products coming out.
Sure.
Part of all of that, right? And they had like, God, like $20 million or something like that.
Stupid. Random people had sponsorships. I mean, not even with the big followings like you.
But what happened, so they brought me in, and then I was supposed to, I went to the Arnold. That was right as they started to launch.
Yep.
We were supposed to travel. We were going to go to expos. We were going to go to China. Like, hell yeah, I was going to sign up for that, right? And what happened is the CEO quit. The next one came in and pulled all their funding, all of it, at the beginning, at the launch of the company. So all the products that were there that were supposed to be made were never made.
Mm-hmm.
They had a team of like 7 guys that had all come from other brands. They knew their stuff and fired them systematically, one by one. And basically what happened was they made so much of the product, they wanted to try to offload it and sell it. So the guy that became the CEO, his overall goal was to basically pick apart the company, fire everybody, and he was going to try to make a sale on the company to sell everything.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And so Amway was the parent company, right? Money. And Twin Lab worldwide by itself actually does well because they have so many different vitamins and they're quality tested and whatever. So I literally, dude, it went from that to I literally just hung out and did nothing. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to make, content or anything. I just did giveaways all the time. I didn't have any. You look back at my stuff, I never had any content. I just had giveaways. And my contract was so ironclad on my side, I didn't have to do more than that. All I requested was 1 post a week. That's all my contract said. They also couldn't end the contract. I was guaranteed that money for 2 years.
Yeah.
And so what they did is they stopped paying me a year into it and continued to try to just offload their product. And we settled in court, and I won. But for the way that things were, they had a solid team. I know which interview you're talking about, and at that point in time, everything was already done.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to go in and try to defend anything.
Mm-hmm.
They needed to step up a lot of the stuff that they were doing with that specific product because the idea behind it was great.
Yeah, I think the idea was there. The dosing was poor. You need 1 serving should have been 4 scoops versus the 1, and then it became a price thing for the consumer. But yes, I think
even told them that.
Yeah.
I said, of course I told them that. And it's unfortunate, that they went that route, man. Because again, there was a solid team there. They had one guy that was a scientist on their panel that's who would have likely talked with you. Whether he would have fared any better, who knows? But he was one of the people that was let go right away.
Yeah, and we actually tried to get him on too, and wouldn't.
Yeah,
but
and Ian was the last one, and now he's up in Canada working on products.
Yeah, he probably shouldn't have taken that. In hindsight, he probably shouldn't have taken that one. But he's a good dude. I like Ian.
But he was the last guy.
Yeah,
he was doing what he was working for the brand. You know, trying to get some exposure, and it is what it is, man. And at the end of the day, I got paid, and
not even just the monetary aspect of it, but I'm sure now that you're an entrepreneur, you probably learned so many things from that clusterfuck of a situation. When you started your own brand, and not just that, being an athlete for Beast and Diamond, you are injected into that environment and the culture that I'm sure you picked out some of the things that you liked, and you refrained from some of the stuff that you hated when you finally said, you know what, I'm done making money for other companies. It's time to make money for myself with your passion project. And I think that there's probably people watching this right now being like, Ryan, I can't believe you're bringing somebody on who makes a product that you also make.
1 second. Hold on. Here, let me hold one too.
Yeah, see? I mean, this is how it should be, people. If you're watching on YouTube or if you're listening, I'm holding up a jar of Brandon's peanut butter. He's holding up a jar of mine. And the thing is, we've talked about this we're competitors, quote unquote, but we want to help each other because this space is so freaking big that unlike the supplement world where it seems like you can't really praise and build people up, all you can do is really try to tear them down or talk shit maybe behind the scenes. I mean, I want Brandon to do extremely well. He wants me to do well, and I have zero issues. Obviously, I have you on the show. So let's talk your product because I'm a fan of several. Like my favorite is the toasted coconut. I think it's great. It's kind of addicting. I'm not going to sit and eat a whole jar because I know what would happen to my digestive system if I did that. But you have a bunch of different flavors and stuff. Tell us the story. Tell us. I mean, obviously, it's a passion project, but anybody can have an idea. But turn that idea into execution and eventually getting it into market, and then you be pitching to Walmart here soon. How did that all come about?
Going way back to the beginning, and I'm very transparent, on my website, is I grew up real poor, didn't have much. I would stay at my grandparents' house, and they would always have peanut butter and jelly for me.
Yeah.
So that was comfort food, right? Always was growing up, always loved peanut butter. I don't know what competitor doesn't like peanut butter. And, in the beginning of my competitive career, my first sponsorship, food-based, was Nuts and More, so beginning before they were on Shark Tank. And then after that, I was with multiple brands that just would send me stuff all the time. Yeah. I'm like, 80 jars of peanut butter, this is great. And people continued to say, well, why don't you start a brand? Why don't you start a brand? Well, I was working a corporate job, and I was training, and I was doing all the fitness stuff. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I don't even know how to do that, but whatever. And like I said, it was my New Year's resolution 2 years ago. And I just started to research, man, how to make my product, how to do this, what flavors, coming up with my logo to my label, and I did everything cheap, cheap. Like I did Fiverr for my labels. Like I did a logo contest for my logo. And I wasn't prepared necessarily when we launched because I didn't know it would sell the way it did. Right. I also didn't know that mail sucks a lot, and lost and damaged packages. And then you have customer service, right? Yeah. Or whatever. I didn't know that. And then understanding, the parameters of running a website and, the bank. I mean, there's 50 million things that you got to do, right? And I didn't know what I was doing. So I did it by myself almost for the first year, but I had an IT guy that anytime I had an issue, and even now I'll just text him, hey, can you fix this or do that?
Right.
Can you run a report on this, or can you file a claim against USPS?
You need a full-time person just for that.
Basically. And I've got my team in South Dakota, from our attorney to our accountant to I've got my
and you actually this is still being made in Sioux Falls, right? Or in South Dakota?
We're making that in New York right now.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Very cool.
We're looking for a secondary company actually to produce, just because from the shipping standpoint, and then also storage.
Yeah.
Is at a premium, when you're making stuff, and as you try to grow, you need to be able to make it and store it. Plus you need to store, everything else that you need to make it, plus your jars to put them in,
it's a lot of space. Yeah.
So we're looking at those things, and right now, as there's shortages on everything from jars to everything, which makes things tougher. So I ended up hiring a guy. I kind of I did everything myself, and I hired a director of operations whose background was the pet industry, actually.
Yep.
A parent's company from $1 million to a $30 million company, and then sold out. And ended up talking to him, and he just understands every aspect when it comes to everything, what the labels need to have and how we handle this, or how to get on UNFI or any of these things. And, he's just my right-hand guy, man. He's the first person I think that I've ever been able just to give instruction to, and I don't have to check back. I just know. He's much smarter than I am. My thing is I'm good at networking. I'm good at creating and branding. I do our social media and stuff still. Focus mostly on Instagram. But now, we've got 20 flavors. We kind of just focus on doing giveaways and stuff. I haven't combined with companies like you have, putting protein and stuff in. But, we work with a lot of the cookie companies and stuff like that, and, promote each other.
Which is smart because women as their primary demographic. Our primary demo is women. We get it.
Yep. So yeah, and then from there, we became an Olympic sponsor. We worked with QVC. We're on the Home Shopping Network. We're on Amazon. We're on the military's website. So gradually, you just take these little steps, and then from there, we started getting into grocery, and then we hired a broker to start pitching us. But as you know too, there's only certain times of the year you can do that.
Yep.
COVID screwed that up. So a lot of our pitches were held off, where they wouldn't review us when we tried to pitch. I know that Whole Foods and I think Target has looked at us and stuff. We just actually, and the other thing that I opted to do, and as I told you, I believe that looking at your jar here and your name, it's more marketable than mine. I truly, Fokken Nuts is kind of a hard sell for some people.
I like it, but it's also because it sounds really, really close to the F word, which I use quite often.
But I'll never get rid of that. But that's where we also made our second line, Easton's, which is after my son. So it's still my family brand. And I know some companies do that sometimes, and some people have told me, stick with it, don't get rid of your name. But because it's my son's name, I'm okay with it. We just had our first big order for Easton's from UNFI this week, which was pretty cool. Walmart reached out to us about pitching them in June.
Is that a part of like the Americana campaign, like Made in America, all this stuff, right? That they kind of do, which I think is super cool.
Yeah, and they're refocusing on that harder than ever right now, which is awesome. So it gives an opportunity for somebody like myself or you,
right?
To get out there and be seen. And that's the thing that's where if you're chosen and you go into one little percent, because they all have their, you go into just one. I mean, it's millions of dollars.
Yeah, it's life changing.
And that's the thing. Like, it's life changing for you and your brand. But that's the other thing. Like we've done is, we've got our banking in order. We've got everything ready for all those purchase orders and this, that, and whatever. Because that's what a lot of people do is, they could have the best product or great idea, but they don't have the financial mindset or ability to grow it. They're at, and the brand dies. Right. That's what we're really focusing on, is to make sure that we're ready for if that hits. And is it going to hit? I'm very positive that we're going to have something that turns up. Is it going to be Walmart? I don't know. I mean, who knows? But I know that I've got a good team. I know that we're going to keep pushing. I know that, I think we have a pretty unique product and look and brand. And, we have people that are passionate about it and are willing to work hard to make those things happen. So whether that's this year or next year, time will eventually come. And, we also, when we talked about our exit strategy at some point, like how long, and everybody would love to own their product and idea forever. Of course they would. If you're looking to truly, take care of your family per se, right? And or give them the things that you never had or that they deserve, an exit strategy matters. And it also needs to do other things, So at some point, we look at what that looks like.
Right. And you have a lot of ideas. You have peanut butter. You mentioned like pet space as well. I mean, there's a lot, and that's a lucrative space, pet and baby space, 2 spaces. You can make a shit ton of money if you do something right. I mean, like ideally for you, I mean, you launched this, 2019. So it's only 2 years young. I mean, is it like a 5 to 7 year plan kind of
Originally I was like, hey, 5 years, hopefully we're going to be where we're at. And then I guess you've got to decide, like, what are you okay? What's the dollar? Like, what are you okay leaving with, you know? Because I think at some point it has that value that, as you know now, grocery companies or beer companies like Budweiser don't come up with new products or gain market share with Budweiser. They buy these little brewery.
Yep.
How Dymatize was acquired. Yep. They come by, and same thing with Justin's peanut butter. What did Justin sell for, like $280 million or something
Hormel
like that?
paid a shit ton for it. Yeah.
And they're always looking for those ideas to gain market share. So if we can get out there and get enough stores and everything else, it has value.
Right.
What is that bottom dollar that you're willing to walk away with?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is, but I would say 5 to 7 years. Obviously, if we could really crank out some numbers, land a Walmart or something like that, you're looking at 5 years. Hey, 5 years. I'm not greedy, man. Like I know what I could live off of for the rest of my life, so to speak. Continue to work, obviously. Like I'm never work, but to have a nice nest egg, I know what that looks like.
For sure.
And that comes, we're looking at protein bars also, because it's a great add-on to what we're doing. The pet products, in some regard, I honestly think the pet products might outdo the human products, and they're simple. They're so simple, in comparison. It's just landing those accounts.
Right. And you got the guy on your side to help you with that, so which is cool. Which is great. And
his relationships are what matter.
Yeah.
Same thing with the protein bar company. Like, one thing I've learned over the years in working in corporate wellness and everything is you don't have to have 100% of $1 million. I'm happy with 5% of $100 million. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You always want the biggest percent, and I'm happy to give up percent for growth. Like the protein bars that we're looking at. And I worked with multiple companies. I flat out said in a meeting yesterday, I'm like, do you want to be a partner in this? I said, cash risk, but I want all of your connections. If part of it, you're going to push, and get it more stores and whatnot. And that's going to save me money on the bottom line from hiring you or somebody else to do that for me. If I just give you some equity in it, and I'm taking all the financial risk, why would you not want to?
Yeah.
You know? So I try to do things as smart as possible. I try to save as much money as I can. You know, I don't skimp on certain things. You know, we do the best that we can with what we have. You know, and again, like I said, I hope it turns out. Same thing for you. I hope that you know, in 3 to 5 years, you're sitting on a beach somewhere with your.
I love it. I mean, I love it. So that was the initial idea, 2, 3, 5 years. But I mean, if I can keep having fun, I think I will. But like, you know, the conversation with you today and just getting to know you more in detail since we've, you know, exchanged numbers and stuff, you and I are very, very much alike. Like we've had a lot of like cool highs and big highs in our life, yours being your fitness accomplishments, this, your son, et cetera, my daughter, but we've both been through some shit too, right? And so don't need to talk about it. I've been through it. You've been through it, but there's a lot of people listening to this podcast or watching it that has been through something, especially in the last 14 months. COVID, relationships, all that stuff. So I want to end the podcast on what's your advice to keep focus, because there's so much noise, and in our personal lives going through the stuff that, you know, we have gone through, it takes a toll on you, but you don't show it. You have to stay strong for Easton. I got to stay strong for Aurora and things of that nature. So nobody wants bad shit to happen, but newsflash, people, bad shit's going to happen. It's going to happen to everybody. How did you deal with it? How did you maintain focus and maybe use it to fuel the next step in your chapter?
You know, the thing about my life, you know, when we talk about bad stuff happening to us, you know, I've got a whole history and an entire lifetime of that, right? So over the years, I've come to know myself very well. I know my triggers. I know those things that will you know, push me down or set me off or whatnot. So one, I think it's getting to know yourself, right? It's really getting to know you, but then also accepting your traumas, accepting your losses, accepting those things as a part of you. So people will say, like, I'm going through a divorce. When does that pain end, right? Well, I said it's always going to be a part of you. That's the thing that people don't realize. All of your good and all of your bad are a part of you, always. They just fade out and more things compile into who you are in the future, right? So one, if you can accept everything that you are and everything that you want, love yourself wholly and completely for everything, even if you're winning or losing, that's going to first of all help, right? Because
stuff, man.
Other people can't use it against you, and you can't use it against yourself because you've accepted that, right? Accept where I'm at, and then start looking for varying degrees on how I'm going to get out of here, how I'm going to change my situation. The one thing I always say is don't lay down, don't kneel to it. You know, continue to move forward. I don't care if you're taking microscopic steps forward, if you're taking one step here, one step there. As long as you're moving forward, you continue to stand, you continue to embrace the hard and find ways and methods to get through it. You're going to win. You know, everybody wants everything to be easy, and if it were, you wouldn't appreciate the end result.
Right.
You know, if I were to walk up to you and give you $1 million, you'd be like, oh hell yeah. But if you work for that million, it's going to have a different value to you than if I were to hand it to you.
Right.
And the hard is what makes life great. It's what makes winning great. It's what makes these accomplishments great. So get to know yourself, embrace the hard, be willing to work through it, be willing to go through, you know, everything that you have to for the end result. You know, when we look at bodybuilding, people will say, well, what makes a great bodybuilder? Well, the great bodybuilder pushes through the hard. When it hurts, he pushes through it. He keeps going. He eats the damn meals when he doesn't want to. He does 2 leg days. He does these things because the end result is worth it.
Right.
And your end result is worth it. You know, taking care of your family, your health, your happiness, you know, being able to take that vacation or live life. I always say this, I want security and I want to live life on my terms. I don't want to have to ask anybody. I don't want anybody telling me what to do. I want to live a life on my terms and I want security. Yep. Security is money. Money can buy security. But security is having all the things that my family needs. And I'm happy with that, whether that's $500,000, $1 million, $5 million, $10 million. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get there.
You can't say much more powerful words than that. So, I mean, that's fantastic. No, I love it. I think people need to hear that, especially, I mean, yes, we're coming out of this whole weird time, but it still is going to resonate with a lot of people. So, Brandan, how do people find you online? Where can they get this awesome stuff? Here's your chance to be an influencer. Where do they go?
Influencer, like Vanna White?
Yeah.
Just at Fokken Nuts, FokkenNuts.com. And then at Brandan Fokken, BrandanFokken. And anytime anybody has any questions, I get back to everybody that writes me in some format or another. I believe if you give me your time, I should give it back. So if anybody has any fitness questions, competition questions, nutrition questions, anything like that, I'm happy to answer. And I appreciate you having me on, man. I do really wish you the best. I'm happy that we've had the opportunity to chat before now and again now. And, you know, I think we can definitely help each other out. I'm looking forward to that.
For sure, homie. Appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir.
That conversation with Brandon, I know I did a lot. It's been a really cool week for me hanging out with people, talking to Brandon. You probably saw on our social channels, I was with Mark Lobliner. We did a Vitamin Shop tour. We did Brick and Mortar tour. We did Hy-Vee tour. We're at Quick Trip. The world's opening up, people. It's been fun. Expos are happening again. We will be at the Olympia. We don't have a booth space yet, but FitButters will be there. We'll have samples. We'll have a mystery flavor, which will be an opportunity for you all to try, guess, and win a all-expense-paid trip back to the 2022 Olympia, which will also be in Orlando. It's crazy to me because I've been going to these events as a media outlet, you know, since I started FI as a fan prior to that, and now I'm having a booth there. And I've been an advocate of like, hey, let's not have booths at these events. But my product's a little bit different. Sampling it, you know, once you get my nuts in your mouth, it's game over, right? But no, it's just been cool. I've enjoyed spending time with my friends in the space, getting out, not wearing a diaper on my face, speaking with people, conversing with people, hugging people, shaking hands with people. That is what it's all about. 2021, guys, we are going to get back to normal. We're going to get back to normal here on the podcast. Hit that subscribe button, whether you are listening on iTunes, Spotify, watching via YouTube. Make sure you go to our YouTube channel. Our website is fitnessinformant.com. We're on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter. Until next time, I am the Nut King himself. I am Ryan Buckeye. Everybody, be informed, live fit, hang loose, and let's go.